Hello friends, I am Megan. If you are new to my channel, Creating Essence, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. Today I'm going to talk about my third graders year as far as curriculum, what worked and what didn't, and what we switched to if we switched to something. So if that sounds like something that interests you, stick around. All right, so my third grader. Same with my fifth grader. If you didn't see that video and you're interested, I will post a link to that video below. But we did a core of Abeka. For math, Abeka. I only buy the textbook and the teacher key because I can look at what they're presenting on a page, see the content that they want them to learn, the concept, and I can teach that. It's third grade, it's not very complicated, and I can help him work through it and get a grasp on that without having a curriculum guide to give me a script to teach from. So I get this, I get the teacher key, just so I can zip through and look at the correct answers. Now we don't do all the work. I explained this a little in my fifth graders video, but briefly, we don't do every single problem. A lot of people's complaints about Abeka is that it's a lot of busy work and so much work and so much repetition. Well, I love the way Abeka teaches. It works well for us, but I do agree there's a lot of extra work. So what I do is we go through and teach the lesson content. And then right here on the front of the page, for math is always going to be what's called class practice. So we do that together, and I try to get him to do some by himself as well. But it's really just working through the day's new concept. On the back, it has a lot of other work. A lot of that is going to be just at the top it says review. It's just review from a lot of past lessons and just general concepts they need to know, like addition, like long division, checking, subtraction and checking, things like that. And down here we have a chart with place values and some basic beginning algebraic equations. How I approach the back side of the page is this. I don't make them do every single thing. In each section, like say in section A here, I will circle one problem that I want him to do. If he gets it correct, he doesn't have to do any more because it just shows me he doesn't need to review that anymore. He did it perfectly. He gets it. Same with the next section. I circled one. He got it right. He doesn't need to do the other 5 problems. Long division, there are 3 problems. I circled one, he did it, got it right, it was great. We also don't do tests. We just do the work on the page. And I can tell from teaching him when he's struggling with a concept. And when he's struggling, we do more problems. When he's not struggling, that's all he needs to do. When he can use a concept in multiple ways throughout his lessons, I don't need him to take a test to prove to me on the spot that he knows that. Because he can use it, and what better way to show retention of the information. So, we don't do tests. Next, we have language. Also Abeka. Test booklet comes with this as well. In third grade, I don't feel like I need the teacher's key for English yet, or for language. Fourth grade, I start getting the teacher's keys for language as well. But for third grade, we don't. It's really basic concepts, working a little bit more in depth from where they were in earlier grades. But they're learning about synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, using a or an, and working on the possessive verbs, nouns, all sorts of the basics of language mechanics. They're moving on from where in first grade and second grade it was a focus on phonics and grammar and very basic how to write a sentence. And in third grade, they're really moving on to more specifics. And I like the way Abeka does that. It's definitely not as work intensive or busy work as math is. It's just one page. It's covering one concept and using it a few different ways. So we typically do all the work on that, but like I said, it's just one page, and it doesn't come across as busy work. It's just using that day's concept. Next we have reading. This is just one of them, but third grade is the last year that we use the Abeka readers. I do like the Abeka readers, especially for the lower elementary grades, because it uses a lot of the things like what they're learning in language. Those concepts they're going to see them used in reading. So they're going to kind of reiterate that. The same with spelling. You're going to see the spelling words in the week's reading. And it just works really well that way. The kids see it used lots of ways. All the different things are really just combined together well there. So we do continue with the readers through third grade. Now, like I said, this is just one of them. There's a whole list down there for third grade, and we do have all of those. This is just one that I grabbed off the shelf. For spelling, also Abeka. It's really simple. It's just a great list. We don't do the activities because that is the single activity for that the entire week. I just work different learning things in for my kids. The first day of a spelling list, we typically do it orally. They will read the words aloud to me and spell them out loud. So they read the word, spell it, and say it again. That way I can help them if there's any trouble with pronunciation or things of that nature. And they get it that way. The second day, and usually the third as well, they write each word down. And they have to write them in cursive because I don't require penmanship after second grade unless it's a child that particularly struggles with penmanship, which my third grader didn't. He had a lot of occupational therapy in his toddler and early elementary years before now. So his handwriting is actually probably better than mine because his fine motor skills are excellent from years of occupational therapy. He has incredible cursive. But penmanship, neatly written, is required for us in spelling lists. I tell them if I can't read it very clearly, like perfectly clearly, it might as well be spelled wrong. So make sure it's done right. And then the fourth day, I try to make a game out of it, whether I plug the list into Spelling City or do a word search or crossword puzzle with it. We do something fun with it to use the words after we've practiced them for 3 days. The fifth day, I usually do a test. Sometimes I'll do it earlier than that. If they ask, if they say, oh, Mama, I feel really confident. Can I give it a try? Absolutely. Any word that they get wrong, they have to write again 5 times. If they get more than 3 words wrong, we work on the list some more because I feel like that tells me he didn't really have a grasp on whatever the concept was that was being taught in that list. And that's fine. I'm totally happy to go at their pace and work on whatever they need to do. Now for history. History, we started with Abeka, and I put the book away already in storage, so I didn't pull that out. But we started with Abeka. And like I said in my 5th graders video, it felt like a gloss. My 5th graders turned it to be a lot of just really dry reading. But 3rd grade was just like from K5 on, it's just a gloss of the same exact information, but a tiny more in depth. And I was just constantly supplementing. So we stopped in November, right before Thanksgiving. We just tossed away the Abeka history books and started doing unit studies. We really just went with historical figures that the kids were really interested in as far as early American history. Because we started at Thanksgiving, that means we started with Squanto. And we went to the library and got out books on Squanto. We did some research on Squanto. And we did a lot of reading together, and they really, really enjoyed that. And from Squanto led into Pocahontas. And we do live in Virginia, in Southern Virginia, in an area that is really, really rich in Native American history. So we really spent a long time on that, and we ended up going with getting lap books to do next year that are specific to Native American history, because I feel personally that when you're starting with American history, it doesn't start with Christopher Columbus. There were people here before us. Before the Europeans came in, there were people here. So I like to start with Native American history, and then we can move on to 1492. So that's our plan next year, is to start the year with Native American history, and then by October, we'll do a lap book and a unit study, August and September, Native Americans. And then by October, for Columbus Day, move on to European American history. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but one thing that we used for history was this, and this was really more geography. We found this at our library, and we loved it so much that I ended up buying it. It is such a fantastic book. I feel like I need to do a video just on this by itself. It has been such a great book. Look for it in your local library and check it out, because it could be amazing in your elementary history and geography unit. Next, we have science. Like I talked about in my 5th graders video, we did Apologia for the second time this year, or for the second year. We started with Flying Creatures of the 5th day, and we did it all grades together. We got lap books, and in my 5th graders video, I forgot to get to show her lap book, but we got a lap book program to go along with Apologia through a website called A Journey for Learning, and the kids loved it. I have one example of one of our lap books here. It goes through and it tells you how to make the lap books. And it has all these neat flaps. The first part is zoology, the order of classification, and you lift each one. And they did coloring and writing, and this is talking about flight and what drag is. And it really gets into a lot more than you think the kids could absorb, but they do so well. And my kids loved it, right down to my preschooler. And then after we go over basic zoology and flight, we get into birds and recognizing birds and classifying birds. They all loved it. It was so neat. So that's what we did for science. And that about rounds out my 3rd graders curriculum. Next year, we'll probably do things pretty similar, but not identical. I'll be doing a video coming up about our plans when I have everything really solidified and a good grasp on everything for everybody. If you haven't seen the video for our summer schooling plans, I will link that below as well, so you can get an idea of that. But that's all for now. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, I would love to have you stick around. Hit that subscribe button below so you are notified when I post a new video. Thank you, friends. Bye-bye.